is a project proposal which has been submitted to the Horizon 2020 work program, Climate Action, Environment, Resource Efficiency, and Raw Materials. HydriCH actions aim at establishing an international network that will capitalize on EU expertise to leverage the value of European cultural heritage assets, to promote heritage-led innovation for sustainable development, and to provide expertise, particularly where cultural heritage is at risk. HydriCH develops an innovative, collaborative, and circular network, including researchers, policymakers, industrial partners, small and medium enterprises, owners, cultural associations, investors, and experts, for regeneration and enhancement of the hydroelectricity heritage in order to provide new economic opportunities and to the territories to which this heritage belongs. Implementing a repertoire of successful heritage-led regeneration initiatives, HydriCH develops new fruition solutions that meet the specific needs of the hydroelectricity heritage and its replicability in other contexts through the International Partners Network. HydriCH focuses on hydroelectricity heritage as extraordinary occasion to demonstrate how cultural heritage can be a unique and powerful engine of regeneration, sustainable development, and economic growth for all territory. The peculiarity of the hydroelectric engineering and architectural heritage is that it is nowadays active for the same productive purposes for which it was built. In the past, a large number of valleys have been protagonists of a long process of hydroelectric development. Nowadays, despite the presence of important active infrastructures which modeled and modified the natural landscape, these territories have, up to now, been valued mainly for their surviving natural and rural features. Actually, as if they were not perceived, the elements of the hydroelectric network representing an important part of the history of these places are not enough considered for their cultural and historical values. Conversely, they could implement the didactic cultural offer of these sites through the development of an innovative cultural and sustainable tourism in those territories, and therefore the range of the economic resources of the investigated territories.
Landscapes and electric architecture have been, up to now, only partially investigated and are in some cases at risk. The cultural state of threat regarding hydroelectric cultural heritage is twofold. On one hand, these industrial structures and infrastructures are very often located in natural parks, such as Parco del Gran Paradiso and Parco Adda Nord in Italy, or Parque de Somiedo in Spain, Parc National des Pyrénées and Réserve Naturelle de Nouvielle in France. And their presence is in conflict with the desire of re-establish the original natural features of the sites. For this reason, they are often dismantled without taking in consideration their cultural value. On the other, such in Algeria, whenever the water reservoir is not used anymore to produce electricity, all the structures, such as power station and infrastructures, such as penstocks, built for the production of electricity, fall in disuse and are not maintained anymore. Therefore, action aimed at encouraging this knowledge, conservation, valorization, and Last but not least, use are needed. The artifacts connected to the production of hydroelectric energy represent a real cultural resource that, if integrated with other resources present in the mountain areas, could gain greater visibility and readability, contributing to make these areas attractive, thanks not only to their naturalistic resources, but also to the historical and cultural ones. Dams and power stations, often authorial works, represent a real architectural emergencies. These, produced for production purposes, have also been conceived with the aim of promoting, bringing credit and giving greater visibility to the companies producing electricity that these works commissioned. Designers try to bring the logic of exploitation with a symbolic motivation and self-representation together, identifying a compromise between artifice and nature. Architects such as Gaetano Moretti, Piero Portaluppi, Giancarlo Maroni, Giovanni Muzio, Eugenio Mollino, and Gio Ponti in Italy were therefore entrusted with the task of designing hydroelectric power stations that, characterized by a particular aesthetic line and a search for quality, would become lasting monuments, a real resource of pride for the entire nation. Let's consider, for example, the Benigno Crespi power plant in Trezzo d'Adda, designed by Gaetano Moretti, rather the system of power station built by Piero Portaluppi in Val d'Ossola, similar to jewels embedded in the mountains. Or even the Ponale one, designed by Giancarlo Maroni, which lies along Garda Lake, bank merging with the surrounding landscapes. Thanks to the intervention carried out to ensure accessibility to the valleys, the structure and infrastructures built to produce hydroelectric energy have, at the time of their construction, certainly contributed to an increase in tourist flow in mountain areas. Now, they could offer new opportunities of leisure and cultural growth for those users interested in deepening the theme of the production of cultural hydroelectric energy, as well as enjoying the naturalistic and environmental resources. Over the last few years, the dissemination of knowledge promoted by some electric companies, such as Idrodolomiti, EDF, interested in promoting knowledge and awareness about their hydroelectric energy production through guided tours, and cultural associations such as Fondation Fassim, interested in enhancing the historical and cultural values of this cultural heritage, prove the raising consciousness of the cultural value of this heritage, cultural value that could be exploited to revitalize territories and safeguard assets nowadays at risk.
Investigating hydroelectric landscapes offers the opportunity to both outline the components of hydroelectric network and identify the traces of the territory's past configuration and its different resources. Reading this landscape unveils a series of themes and cues to be addressed by means of design, which should aim at integrating the historical hydroelectric infrastructure as a layer of meaning in the contemporary alpine landscape and, therefore, as a cultural resource. The traces of the path that led to the creation of these works are still present on the territory, sometimes hidden, often in a state of ruin and incorporated into the nature that has gradually taken its own spaces back. These traces constitute, to all intents and purposes, historical cultural testimonies that, properly explained and connected, could become a resource able to attract a tourism not necessarily expert in this field, but however interested in deepening the different topics related both to the production of electricity and to the history of a country. All the different cultural resources, such as the naturalistic, architectural, cultural, and food and wine ones, could or should be linked together so as to foster the enlargement of the potential users actually interested in enjoying them. This could lead to the production of positive externalities able to actively contribute to the revitalization of mountain areas. During the last 3 years, the Politécnica of Turin and the Architecture and Design Department, institution devoted to the research and education on themes concerning history, knowledge, and reuse projects on the cultural heritage, have organized many activities on the theme of the hydroelectric heritage. Until now, through the efficient collaboration between our department and the Asociación de Arqueología Industrial Incuna, thanks to Miguel Ángel Álvarez Areces, we have organized 2 international conferences in Turin and 3 international workshops for university students. Città e Paesaggi Elettrici is the title of the first international conference, which took place in 2016. The subject of the conference was the landscape of electricity made up of machines, buildings, and places which over time have produced the driving force that has moved the world. This landscape presents various forms of anthropomorphisms, showing how important is knowledge of its history to understand its current abandonment and what can be preserved or transformed and regenerated. For these reasons, experts of different disciplines have been invited to explore the hybridization of knowledge on the theme. The first workshop, titled Patrimonio y Paisajes Eléctricos, la Central de la Malva de Somiedo, and organized by Incuna, followed the first meeting. In this occasion, students and teachers have worked on the Somiedo Park area with the aim of developing a project simulation for the enhancement of this hydroelectric heritage. The book, entitled Patrimonio y Paisajes Eléctricos, gathers the first 2 experiences. The value of this volume is that it tries to trace a new exploration path bending the disciplines of history, technology, restoration, architectural composition, plant engineering, and the environment to the modern needs of the project.
Architetture e paesaggi dell'elettricità, un sistema di risorse produttive, is the title of the second conference, which took place in 2017. The focus of the conference was on the experiences of enhancement of the hydroelectric heritage. Experts from France, Italy, and Spain discussed about the topic, trying to put in evidence the level of criticality of each situation. Few months later, the second workshop took place in Val Tournanche, thanks to the collaboration and hospitality of the Compagnia Valdostana delle Acque, owner of all the hydroelectric infrastructures of the Valle d'Aosta. The workshop involved Italian and Argentinian students from the Universidad Nacional de Córdoba, Facultad de Arquitectura, Urbanismo y Diseño. A 2 weeks workshop developed 2 case studies: the enhancement of the hydroelectric traces of Val Tournanche Valley, in particular those connecting the power station of Perrer to Cignana Dam, the power station of Promeron and Maen, and the reuse of a dismissed building of the power station area of Gressoney-La Trinité. Two scales of intervention with different issues. In fact, in this valley, there are dams, power stations, artifacts, and infrastructures in use and abandoned, realized in the first decades of the last century when the production of electricity started. The artifacts, rather than a series of punctual elements, can be observed as a part of a territorial production system that follow the path of water. From the Goyer Lake to the power station of Covalou, through barriers, jumps, and derivations, the sequence of all these artifacts describes the process of colonization of the natural environment of the mountain, a process of anthropization made of a sequence of elements that in many cases are not perceived in their real meaning of productive infrastructures because the landscapes has absorbed them. During the workshop, the students discovered the path of the water of Val Tournage Valley. Starting from the Goyer artificial lake, the water falls down to the power station of Perrer and its dismissed residential building and continues its descent to the Chignana Dam and nourishes the power station of Promeron, nowadays dismissed, Maen and Covalou, where the water is conveyed to feed the power station of Châtillon, the last productive site of the valley. In April 2018, we made a similar experience in Argentina. The workshop was organized by Roberto Ferraris, professor of the Facultad de Arquitectura, Urbanismo y Diseño. Conocer y valorizar un lugar de la memoria, usina eléctrica de La Calera, in Córdoba, involved Italian and Argentinian students and professors on the specific theme of renovation of some dismissed building of the area of the power station Usina Mollet. Thanks to the involvement of EPEC, owner of the productive sites, students visited productive sites such as the cave power station of Rio Grande that produce 715 megawatt. After 3 days of workshop on the topic, students produced 5 solutions of adaptive reuse that were collectively discussed and presented to EPEC. From a temporal point of view, HydriCH was submitted to the European Commission after the second workshop. It is important to underline that all these occasions have represented for us a real occasion of knowledge, sharing ideas, and increasing the work group.
HydriCH intends to promote cultural heritage innovation through the design of a methodology aimed at providing both the enhancement of the industrial heritage connected to the hydroelectric energy production and the creation of new opportunities for tourism development in sites which are nowadays affected by a phenomenon of demographic retreat and by a gradual tourist flows reduction on which the abandonment of the territories and the aging of the population insert themselves. This active engineering and architectural heritage could implement the didactic cultural offer of these sites and therefore the range of the economic resources of the investigated territories, promoting the exploitation of this heritage through the construction of an ICT platform that would become the means through which develop an innovative, cultural and sustainable tourism in those territories. Culture can play an important role in the European foreign policy. It can be promoter of the development of intercultural dialogue, open-mindedness, dignity, and mutual respect fostering reconciliation within and between countries, countering violent radicalization. Europe can play an important role in the safeguarding of cultural heritage around the world by providing training, skills development, and knowledge transfer activities to neighborhood and third countries. In some countries, cultural heritage is still not completely identified or represents an underestimated resource, often at risk or under threat. HydriCH has the ambition to develop a new and more widespread awareness of the cultural value of the hydroelectric patrimony. HydriCH intends to establish a link between the industrial assets and the resources of the territories in which they are located. HydriCH has two macro objectives. First of all, to improve the protection and enhancement of the natural, cultural, and landscape heritage of the areas characterized by the presence of hydroelectric plants and to increase their attractiveness and sustainable use both for visitors and for the inhabitants. Second, to promote the establishment of a system of cultural, environmental, and tourist offer, increasing skills and strengthening synergies among international operators active in conservation, interpretation, management, and promotion of natural, cultural, and landscape heritage, and in the tourism sector.
The HydriCH proposal has not been financed because the research and innovation aspects dominate the networking, capacity building, and knowledge transfer action in the work plan. However, it has been evaluated by the European Commission capable to contribute in preservation of heritage and enhancement of heritage-led innovation in its specific thematic field. For this reason, we intend to keep on working on the proposal so as to participate to the Horizon 2020 Work Programme 2018-2020, Europe in a Changing World, Inclusive, Innovative and Reflective Societies, and in particular to the topic Transformation, Innovative Approaches to Urban and Regional Development through Cultural Tourism. The topic states that the various forms of cultural tourism in Europe are important drivers of growth, jobs, and economic development of European regions and urban areas. They also contribute by driving intercultural understanding and social development in Europe through discovering various types of cultural heritage to understanding of other people's identities and values. Therefore, starting from the assessment of how the presence, development, decline, or absence of cultural tourism has affected the development of European regions and urban areas, we intend to elaborate a proposal that, focusing on the hydroelectric heritage, will define specific strategies to promote cultural tourism at the regional, national, and European level. Thank you.